Sunday Today is brought to you in part by Panasonic Smooth Operator Wet Dry Razors. Smoother than you ever thought you'd be.
Panasonic presents a new breed of smooth operator. The new Smooth Operator rechargeable razor unites the old-fashioned closeness of a warm, wet shave with the convenience and no-nick comfort of an electric. Don't try this with any plugged-in razor. Smooth Operator wet dry razors from Panasonic. Smoother than you ever thought you'd be.
Our competition uses a very sophisticated, state-of-the-art, highly precise device to measure their cars. Our car, the Accord from Honda.
Listen to this. Last month, I made a long-distance call from a payphone to the home office. The other day, I get a bill from some operator service company I've never even heard of for twice the AT&T price. Hey, what's going on here?
When you make a long-distance call and you don't hear AT&T after the... Hang up, dial 10-ATT-0, then the area code and number. You get the AT&T service you want and prices you expect.
You just gotta listen.
AT&T. The Hemphill name is one of the most prestigious and renowned in home building today. Throughout the north suburbs, Hemphill built is an expression of quality and an assurance of lasting value. Over the past 65 years, more than 4,000 homes have been built by Hemphill, one at a time. Hemphill homes feature high-efficiency gas furnaces, Aristocraft cabinets from Siegel's Home and Building Centers, and Armstrong floors, putting the height of fashion right at your feet. Own an original. Own a home by Hemphill. For a brochure, call 1-800-466-9876.
And now for some of the stories we're following here on Sunday Today. Secretary of State James Baker reported some progress following 3 days of tough talks with Chinese leaders in Beijing. Baker said the Chinese provided information about some political prisoners, and he says the Chinese are also offering to observe guidelines for missile technology control. In the Soviet Union, Boris Yeltsin has decreed drastic new reforms of the economy for the Russian Republic, a move toward a free market in the largest of the Soviet republics. Jim Maseda reports now from Moscow.
The fate of the Union depends on this man, and Boris Yeltsin knows it. The Russian president has decreed sweeping reforms in his, the largest and richest republic, freeing foreign trade, giving Russians the right to own and bank in hard currency, and letting the nearly worthless ruble find its true rate of exchange inside Russia. In a move that literally takes the economy out of Mikhail Gorbachev's hands, Yeltsin assumed control of Russia's vast oil, gold, and diamond resources. He will cut oil exports so that Russia, one of the world's biggest oil producers, will have enough fuel for the winter. The Soviet gold reserve has dwindled to nothing. Officials now admit the state bank's debts have emptied the coffers. With almost all precious metals on Russian territory, Yeltsin will try to stop the flow of gold and diamonds out of the republic. With Yeltsin clearly in charge of the economy, Gorbachev's powers have been reduced to foreign affairs and defense. But with some republics already forming their own armies and foreign ties, even here, Gorbachev's turf is shrinking fast. Jim Maseda, NBC News, Moscow.
And that's the news, except for the weather news.
And also one item, in case you're getting up late this morning, don't know the news from Louisiana, Ed Edwards defeated David Duke. It was a landslide, a victory for Edwards, 61 to 39%, just for those who were sleeping in this morning, which you shouldn't be doing.
No.
Anyway, Al, weather.
Too many things to be doing.
That's right.
In fact, you want to get your Filofaxes out and mark what's going to be happening for your weather this week ahead. Here's how it shapes up as we take a look. We'll show you that it's going to be cold to cool throughout the northern two-thirds of the U.S., mild down in the mid-Atlantic states, and also the Gulf Coast, warm in southern Florida, and mild along the west coast. As far as precipitation is concerned, well, it looks like it's going to be wet from the Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Fairly normal right along the east coast. Some snows out in the Rockies and the Cascades. Dry weather in the desert southwest and in southern California. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods. We're expecting a high today of 66 degrees in Los Angeles. They will have sunshine. 67 in Atlanta, plenty of sunshine there. 85 degrees, chance of some afternoon thunderstorms in Miami. Chicago will have 52 degrees and sunshine. And that's the latest weather. And England has it, so does France, and soon we will too. A permanent repertory acting company. Tony Randall, Martin Sheen, and Michael York tell us why the play's the thing, as Sunday Today comes back trippingly on the telly.
I like to know everything. I'm one of those people. Give me the facts. Well, Healthy Choice does that. They give you what you need to know. It's all there. Low fat, low cholesterol, low sodium. You see, Healthy Choice understands that I can make sense of this. I appreciate that. Healthy Choice, my favorite foods and the facts I want, right here. With Healthy Choice, the choice is yours.
Imagine your refrigerator with bigger door shelves for bigger bottles, with leftovers left in quick-serve trays for leftover space, more space, nearly 27 cubic feet, and a door in the door for things you use more. Imagine GE's Space Center 27.
This is Channel 5, your 24-hour news source.
Good morning, I'm Laura Whittick. At this hour, it should be classes as usual tomorrow if the Board of Education and the Chicago Teachers Union approve a tentative contract agreement. A Lake County Sheriff's deputy is in serious condition after being shot in Libertyville this morning. And some 500 ComEd customers in Western Springs are without power. Crews working on the problem. More news in 1 hour.
Hear all the live action of Doubles on WMAQ Radio.
Do you guys like this car?
The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety recently issued a study reporting occupant death rates in thousands of accidents.
This is really nice.
Look, cup holders.
The study found that minivans as a group had an average occupant death rate twice as high as the car with the lowest death rate, the Volvo 240 wagon. So if you're considering a minivan instead of a Volvo,
Go talk to the man.
maybe you'd like to reconsider.
Talking about a radical idea. It's called theater. It's not the movies. It's not the television set. It's live there on stage. And, of course, Al Roker is always live and always on stage,
I was going to say, Broadway has been bemoaning the fact for a long time that with the British invasion, the American theater is dead.
Well,
it's not a new
we're about to show you it's about to be resuscitated. In fact, it may not be housed in a museum or put on display in galleries, but it is art nonetheless. So to that end, the curtain is about to go up on the results of a decade-long effort to establish a national repertory theater on Broadway. Its goal, to put great drama and great actors together and make it affordable. The song says the neon lights are bright on Broadway, but on today's drama's light has been very... And the man responsible for this neat feat is best known for his portrayal of a neat freak.
I wanted that glamour of being part of the theatrical center of New York.
Tony Randall is the founder of the National Actors Theater, the first national repertory acting company. Civilization's greatest plays.
America's finest actors.
It's a nice legacy.
Yeah.
It's in residence here at the Belasco Theater, rehearsing Arthur Miller's classic, The Crucible.
Them that will not confess will hang.
And when the curtain goes up this week, it will cap a 10-year drive to create a permanent resident acting company.
My first aim is to build a genuine acting company, a great acting company, permanent acting company. The other is, of course, to fill that enormous gap in our Broadway scene and in our national scene of doing the great plays of all the nations of the world. That's the purpose of classical repertory theater.
Marshal! Man, you cannot, you will hang.
I can, and there's your first marvel.
Two members of the Crucible's cast, Martin Sheen and Michael York. York knows the value of a national acting company.
Well, I think it's tremendously exciting. I mean, I was a National Theatre Player Britain when the company was in its infancy, and it grew to to become, you know, the Royal National Theatre and something absolutely indispensable in the cultural life of the nation. And I can see this company doing the same thing.
Life, woman, life is God's most precious gift. And no principle, however glorious, may justify the taking of it.
We've got a hand on the torch. This is our heritage, it's our language, and these have to be kept alive.
It is enough!
For Martin Sheen, the chance to take part in something like this is a dream come true.
I am John Proctor, and you will not use me. There's no part of salvation that you should use me.
I have no wish.
I have 3 children. How may I teach them to walk in the world like men? And I have sold my friends.
You have not seen
I'm very proud to be in the very first play. It's my favorite American play. Arthur Miller is one of my heroes, so I'm very excited about a permanent home where I can work and other actors can work and be part of a permanent company. Maybe in the future, a National Actors company will visit Peoria and present a play that people will see that normally might never see such a play.
sold to hell.
The other goal of the National Actors Theatre is to make theater going more accessible.
People at the box office, great.
So to that end, ticket prices range from $25 to $32, with special student rates of $10. Now, with Broadway tickets costing upwards of $60, that places a trip to the theater out of reach for many. In fact, ticket sales dropped 6% last year from the year previous, while attendance was off by 9%.
The greatest human beings there ever were.
Maybe just what the doctor ordered for the fabulous invalid.
Hope you like the show.
It'll be very, very good for New York and for Broadway. We've lost a generation of an audience. Families can't go. They don't take their children. Many, many, many people have no idea what a great actor in a great play is.
I think that'd be the devil's argument.
Oh, woman, before the laws of God, we are as swine. We cannot read his will.
I cannot dispute with you, sir. I lack learning.
Golly, Proctor, you are not summoned here for disputation. Be there no wifely tenderness in you?
This will train a new audience to come back into the theater. It'll only help the commercial theater in the long run.
My honesty is broke, Elizabeth. I am no good man. Nothing spoiled by giving them this lie that we're not rotten long before.
And yet you've not...
Eventually, Randall's plans for the National Actors Theatre will include and a playwriting program to provide the company with new material. And he admits the theater will have another purpose as well.
I want to do a little acting. I think my public will demand it.
Randall has modeled his company after other national theaters, like France's Comédie Française. But unlike its international cousins, the National Actors Theatre receives no federal subsidy, operating on ticket sales, corporate and private donations. But some ask, with a tight economy, should taxpayers foot the bill for the arts?
That question comes up all the time. It's a misunderstanding. We have plenty of money for B-2 bombers, haven't we? We have money for all the wrong things. They cut down music instruction in schools. They don't cut down on football. This is the education of the soul. This is the education of the human heart. You're not a complete human being if you don't know these things. If you don't go to the museum and see Rembrandt, if you don't know Beethoven's music, you have left a hole in your heart. You're not a complete human being. This is your legacy. This is your inheritance. You're entitled to this.
Well, after a fundraising gala performance this Thursday, The Crucible opens Friday the 22nd and runs till January 7th.
And what else is in the repertoire?
The next play, Tony Randall will be in. His public demands that. And it'll be a George Feydeau play with Vanessa Redgrave and Rob Lowe. And then the final play will be a Henrik Ibsen, The Master Builder, with Earl Hyman, who people may know better as Bill Cosby's dad.
A lot to look forward to at the National Theatre. Thank you, Actors Theatre. Thanks, Al. Well, now to the world stage, if you will, and a question. What is it like to have 169 bosses? Well, if you're the Secretary General of the United Nations, it's not easy. We talk with Javier Perez de Cuellar as he nears the end of his 10 years on the job.
At BASF, we don't make the plane. We make it lighter. We don't make the lotion. We make it smoother. We don't make the dress. we make it brighter. We don't make the carpet, we make it tougher. At BASF, we don't make a lot of the products you buy. We make a lot of the products you buy better. BASF, the spirit of innovation.
These are remarkable cars, and I've left all this space to show you why. First, Dodge Spirit and Plymouth Acclaim are the lowest priced 6-passenger cars in the world, even with an airbag and all the goodies you see here. But okay, you want to spruce it up, so you start adding options: air, automatic, 4-speaker stereo. When you're through, you'll find that Spirit and Acclaim, with all this, are still the lowest priced 6-passenger cars on the planet.
Now, drive for the gold with up to $1,000 cash back on select cars.
He was a DA.
Bedford!
Blackmailed by a secret.
I've kept quiet long enough, but I'll be damned if I'm going to swing for this.
Stalked by a killer.
The man is afraid for his life.
Terrorized by a threat.
I'll take you down with me.
That could destroy him forever.
That's a promise.
If you haven't seen the boldest new drama of the season.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bedford.
See it now. I'll Fly Away, NBC Tuesday.
What do you do when your husband calls to tell you he's bringing guests home for dinner and you haven't cleaned your silver in months?
Get Tarnex.
What do you use to clean away the tarnish from even the most deeply embedded patterns of those special serving pieces?
Use Tarnex.
Is there any easy way to keep sterling silver or silver plate always looking bright and shiny?
With Tarnex.
How do you remove years of tarnish from gold, silver, and copper coins?
Dip them in Tarnex.
How do you get months of tarnish off those badly discolored copper pots and pans?
Tarnex does it all.
Yes, Tarnex does it all, quickly, easily. But unlike silver polishes, Tarnex removes only the tarnish, not the precious metal. Remember the name, Tarnex. It's guaranteed to work for you at home as easily as it does on TV or return to place of purchase for your money back.
Tarnex available at Walgreens, Dominick's, Perry, Hook, Ace, Kmart, True Value, Woolworth, HWI, and Osco.
Prevention and treatment of breast cancer, tonight at 10.
In the next several days or weeks at most, the United Nations is to get a new Secretary General. He or she will succeed Javier Perez de Cuellar, who's held the top job for 10 years. And in the past year or two, something strange has happened to that job. The UN is now being taken much more seriously by world leaders. With the Cold War over, Gorbachev and Bush want to work with the United Nations. Stopping Saddam Hussein in the Middle East was a good example of that. The Secretary General is a job worth having and a person worth knowing. He is an international figure, and yet most people know little of him. He travels the world, the head of an organization of 169 nations, which are rarely united. He is supposed to deal with the problems of the world, and yet is given no power to do so. After 10 years in the job, UN Secretary General Javier Perez de Cuellar understands what it requires.
You cannot be a Secretary General of the United Nations if you are not serene and patient. I think serenity is an indispensable, let's say...
job requirement.
I think it is more than that, it's a gift. Because you cannot decide I am going to be serene, you know, it is something in your nature. You know, to be serene and then to be quiet, and I mean to be patient, to listen to everybody, to try to ponder the position of the different parties without pressing them, without blackmailing them, you know. I think serenity is extremely important.
It is not easy to be serene in what often seems to be a mad, mad world. Perez de Cuellar went to Iraq to try to head off the war after Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. Today, he is deeply involved in efforts to free all the hostages held in the Middle East. He has been accepted by both sides as the honest broker. Those who are holding the hostages, their backers, say they have confidence in you personally. Where are we now in that? How far away are we from a total release?
Well, I think I still hope and pray that before the end of the years, all hostages will be freed. I have some promises from many quarters, and then I keep working. Even this morning I was working on it. I have always at least 1 hour in which I dedicate to the problem of the hostages.
When you say you're working on the hostages an hour a day, for example, what are you doing?
Well, I have contacts with all parties concerned. There are some countries which help me. For instance, Iran is helping me. Syria as well is helping me. And then We have contacts with the groups which are holding these people.
And that would be a wonderful way to leave your office after 10 years.
Well, I think from my humanitarian point of view, I will be extremely, extremely pleased.
The United Nations cannot prevent war, but it is often sent in to pick up the pieces afterwards. UN peacekeeping forces have been sent to the Middle East, Africa, Central America, and this past week into Cambodia, where the UN has taken on perhaps its biggest challenge, to turn the land of the killing fields into a nation of peace and democracy. It will not be easy.
How many people are you sending in, UN people?
Well, I think we're going to send about, I don't know, perhaps 5,000, 6,000, something like this. It's
military people, political people?
Both military and civilian people, because we are going to take over part of the administration of the country, which is not a tiny country, as you know, and it was a very complex operation.
But this is really amazing, because what you're getting into in Cambodia to finally bring an end to the problem there is not only to send peacekeeping forces in, but UN personnel who will in effect run the country.
It has to run the country, that's right.
Something seems to be changing in your job as Secretary General and the UN, the perception that people have following the Gulf War and the UN's role in that, and the end of the Cold War. Do you feel that when you go to work in the morning,
yes,
when you
very
travel?
Much, very much. I think one of the main responsibilities of a Secretary General of the United Nations is to take advantage of opportunities. He cannot create the opportunities, but he has to take advantage of the opportunities which are presented to him.
But as we have witnessed the drama of the past years, the balance of power shifting, our world changing, there is one big opportunity Perez de Cuellar thinks we have missed.
I have been unable so far to obtain a real, sincere dialogue between North and South on socio-economic problems. That is, I think, in 10 years, I have been unable to sit around a table with a real interest in solving economic problems of all developed countries and all developing countries.
Okay, again, an interesting point you raise. You say the inability or the lack of desire of the rich nations of the North to talk and dialogue with the poorer nations of the southern part of our globe, our Earth, is a great disappointment. Again, most people listening to us right now would say, gee, I don't even think of that much. You know, we have other problems here at home. Why should I really be worried about that?
Because of your, if you allow me, your well-being. Let's put aside prosperity, you know, but your well-being, and depends on the well-being of the South.
The poor nations of the world.
The poor nations of the world. Because you cannot live, you know, in peace with your well-being. You know that there are people who are suffering from famine, from national disaster.
What happens if the wealthier countries of the North don't really come to grips with the problems of the poor nations in the South, by and large, and there's just continual benign neglect at the very least? What happens?
What will happen is that those who are democratic countries, that is the case of almost all Latin American countries, and you know, you have noticed that there are movements towards democracy in Africa, all those democracies will collapse. And we are going to have, again, you know, dictatorships, abuses of human rights in all those countries.
The day you leave your office here at the UN headquarters, your successor is coming in, and if you were to leave a little note, a personal handwritten note in the drawer of the desk for that person, what would you offer as a suggestion?
As far as
advice,
I think something which I already told you very honestly, you know, serenity, patience, impartiality, independence, in order to generate confidence, because that is the key for the Secretary General, you know, is to generate confidence, to be trusted by all 169 members of the United Nations organization.
That's a lot of people to work for.
It's a lot of people to work for, but that is one of the, I don't know, of the pleasures and sometimes the frustrations of the job.
Congratulations on the job done.
Thank you.
And what lies ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Javier Perez de Cuellar's term ends the end of this year. Who will succeed him? An Egyptian and an African from Zimbabwe are said to be the favorites as of now, but there's still a lot of international politicking and wheeling and dealing to go before the final choice is made. We'll be right back.
Your
Your biggest competitor is working on a proposal for the same job you're after.
You want this to be enlarged?
They have about the same idea as you do.
Copy this slide.
The only difference is...
Let's print it.
They own a Canon color laser copier, and you don't. Who would you give the job to? If you think you can't afford a Canon color laser copier, maybe you can't afford to be without one. Call 1-800-OK-CANON.
1874, the first transatlantic cable connecting Ireland and America. It was made by Siemens. That was then. This is now. Today, Siemens makes telephone switches that handle 1 million calls in a single hour, carry voice, text, and data on a single phone line. And at 23 research sites in America, the people of Siemens are developing technologies to connect us all to the future. Siemens, precision thinking.
Rolling Stone calls him the showman of our generation. Seductively entertaining, says the New York Post. Barry Manilow's Showstoppers. Presented by Kellogg's Kenmai Rice Bran Cereal. 5 big shows, November 19th through the 23rd at Chicago Theater. Reserved seats at the box office and all Ticketmaster outlets or charged by phone. Barry Manilow's Showstoppers. Presented by Kellogg's Kenmai and Coca-Cola. Can't beat the real thing. Produced by Jam.
Thousands of American women will get cancer this year. That's why Channel 5 is inviting you to watch a special series devoted to the prevention and early detection of cancer. We'll help you make your future a healthy one using self-examination, early warning signs, and cancer prevention diets. We'll also tell you how to get reduced rates on mammograms. Find out what every woman should know about cancer. Watch 5, Fit for Life, Early Cancer Detection, tonight on Channel 5 News at 10.
In our top story today in Louisiana, a landslide. Democrat Edwin Edwards won the race for governor, defeating former Ku Klux Klansman David Duke. Edwards captured 61% of the vote to 39% for Duke. Duke said voters were tricked into believing the Louisiana economy would be ruined if he were elected governor. Edwards' victory is a comeback for the former governor who was plagued with corruption scandals during his earlier terms in the governor's mansion.
And Mary Ellis on Meet the Press this morning on these NBC stations. We'll be talking about the economy, about the stock market, about high interest rates with credit cards. We'll be talking with Secretary of the Treasury Nicholas Brady, Senator Alphonse D'Amato, the former chairman of the FDIC, William Seidman. That's on Meet the Press this morning. Al.
And this morning we've got some heavy snows out in the Rockies. We've also got some heavy...